Hello and welcome to Wisdom and Wealth, a YouTube channel dedicated to exploring timeless wisdom for a richer, more fulfilling life, especially for those of us over 40. Have you ever caught your reflection and silently asked yourself, is this really my life? Is this the path I truly want? It's not about the life your parents dreamed up, or the one society pats on the back, but the one your heart aches to live, the one that gifts you genuine peace, even if it's a solo journey. This seemingly simple question is a cornerstone of Buddhist wisdom. Because let's face it, most of us spend our lives chasing shadows, hooked on the fleeting highs of status, approval, and stuff. Meanwhile, our true self, that quiet, sacred core, withers away, unseen, like a flower blooming in the dark. Sound familiar? Before we dive deeper into how to nurture that inner voice, if you're finding this conversation intriguing, please hit that like button. And if you're keen to explore more wisdom for a well-lived life, consider subscribing to Wisdom and Wealth. We're all about unlocking the potential within you. We become masters of disguise, so skilled at wearing masks that we forget what our real face even looks like. Each morning, the world hits us with demands, deadlines to crush, roles to perform, standards to uphold. The world shouts, be more polished, more productive, more likable. But underneath all that noise, there's another voice, softer, slower, wiser. The Buddha knew it well. He called this external rat race Samsara, the endless cycle of striving, wanting, and never quite arriving. It's that spiritual hamster wheel we all know too well, where we're running faster and faster, chasing peace through accomplishments, joy through validation, purpose through endless busy work. And yet, somehow, we still feel empty. That subtle ache in your chest, that nagging feeling that something's off, even when everything seems perfect, that's not just random anxiety. In Buddhist teachings, that's dukkha, the discomfort that surfaces when we live disconnected from our true nature. It's your heart gently tapping you on the shoulder, saying, this isn't it. It's not a punishment, but an invitation to awaken. Because beneath all those layers of expectations and identities, there's a spring of clear, pure truth. The Buddha likened it to water hidden beneath layers of dirt, still flowing, still alive, just buried. If you're resonating with this message, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more insights on living a life of wisdom and wealth. Most people never dig deep enough. They settle for the surface, drinking from muddy puddles of temporary pleasure, another purchase, another compliment, another goal achieved. But none of it truly nourishes, none of it satisfies. Because what you're truly thirsty for isn't more, it's real peace, real meaning, real connection to your own spirit. So, the next time you stand before the mirror, pause. Look deeper than your reflection. Ask the question again. But this time, listen for the quiet voice underneath, the one that knows who you are without needing permission. Because that voice, that still, knowing presence, is your way out of samsara, and your way back to yourself. Why do we so often ignore the timeless wisdom that could set us free? Because truth, in its rawest form, can be terrifying. To truly face ourselves is to peel back the layers of distraction and illusion, and stand before our own reflection, flawed, vulnerable, unfinished. It means acknowledging the mistakes we've made, the dreams we've abandoned, and the unsettling possibility that we've spent years chasing goals that were never really ours to begin with. The Buddha named this resistance avidya, a fundamental ignorance, a blindness we cultivate to avoid seeing what lies beneath the surface. It's easier to stay busy, to drown in noise, to fill our calendars and screens than it is to sit in silence and listen to the truth echoing within us. But the first step toward liberation doesn't begin with movement, it begins with stillness. And not the passive kind, but the brave, deliberate kind. When we meditate, we're not just trying to quiet the mind, we're learning to tune into a voice that has always been there, waiting patiently beneath the chaos. That voice is our guide home. But make no mistake, this inward path is not for the faint of heart. It demands a kind of courage that goes far beyond the physical. The Buddha called it vira, spiritual energy, the fierce willingness to face ourselves without turning away. It requires us to question the very foundation of what we've been taught to believe, what success looks like, what happiness requires, what it means to live a good life. Sometimes it means letting people down, walking away from expectations that were never aligned with our truth. It means sitting in the quiet discomfort of our fears, our grief, our unspoken doubts, without numbing them, without escaping into business. Now, here's the quiet miracle the Buddha uncovered. When we finally stop running and turn toward ourselves with compassion instead of judgment, we discover that everything we've been seeking was never outside of us, it was always here, waiting to be remembered. If this exploration of inner strength resonates with you, please give this video a like. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to Wisdom and Wealth for more insights on living a more aligned life. The path forward isn't about rejecting the world, but about seeing it with new eyes, clear eyes. It's learning how to carry our responsibilities without letting them carry away our souls. It's about pausing deeply, consciously, when that inner voice rises, even if what it says defies everything we've been conditioned to want. Because that voice, however quiet, speaks the language of freedom. The Buddha didn't teach escape from life, but awakening within it. Every mindful breath, every honest moment before the mirror, every time you choose authenticity over approval, these are the steps that lead from suffering to freedom. So, tomorrow morning, when you see your reflection, look deeper. Beneath the roles you play and the masks you wear, who is really there? And, more importantly, what would it feel like to finally let that person live? Take a deep breath and ask yourself, how many choices have I made lately from a place of real truth? And how many were shaped by fear? Fear of letting people down? Fear of standing out? Fear of the unknown? Fear of leaving behind what feels safe? The Buddha taught that fear is one of the greatest obstacles to awakening. It keeps us trapped in cycles of suffering, repeating old patterns, while our authentic selves remain buried beneath layers of conditioning. Every time we choose fear over truth, we move further from our own inner light, like a tree straining toward sunlight, yet tied down by ropes. We may not understand, we may not realize why we feel so strained, so exhausted until we realize we've been fighting against our own nature. This isn't about selfishness. The Buddha's middle way teaches us that true wisdom lies neither in self-indulgence nor in self-denial, but in balance. To give genuinely to others, we must first be rooted in our own wholeness. Imagine a lamp trying to brighten a room while its own flame flickers weakly. How can it illuminate anything? In the same way, we can't offer love, kindness, or presence to the world if we're running on emptiness. The Dharmapada says, first establish yourself in what is right, then teach others. This is the heart of true compassion, you cannot pour from an empty cup. When you begin choosing yourself, not from ego, but from deep self-honesty, a quiet miracle unfolds. The Buddha called this the law of karma, not punishment and reward, but the natural truth that like attracts like. Live from your core, and life responds in kind. People who resonate with your truth will appear, situations that nurture your growth will arise. What no longer belongs to you will fall away, not as loss, but as the universe making space for what aligns with your awakened path. But first, you must face what you've been avoiding, the shadows within. In Buddhism, these shadows are called clashes, the mental defilements of greed, hatred, and delusion that cloud our true nature. We spend lifetimes running from them, masking them, pretending they don't exist. Yet, the Buddha's radical teaching was this: nothing is to be clung to as I or mine. Even our darkest parts are not enemies to destroy, but illusions to see through. If you found value in this exploration of wisdom, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content from Wisdom and Wealth. When you stop resisting your shadows, your anger, your insecurities, your past mistakes, something extraordinary happens. They lose their power over you, like a nightmare recognized as just a dream, their grip loosens. This is the alchemy of awareness. What was once heavy becomes light. This transformation doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for presence. Sitting in meditation, you might notice shame arising. I'm not good enough. Instead of pushing it away, you simply breathe and label it, this is fear. You watch as it trembles and dissolves, like a wave returning to the ocean. Over time, you begin to recognize all emotions as passing weather in the vast sky of your awareness. This is the essence of vipassana, clear seeing. The more you practice, the more you realize you are not your shadows, you are the space that holds them. And from this space, clarity dawns. Decisions become simpler, not because life gets easier, but because you're no longer torn between truth and fear. You understand the Buddha's teaching that all conditioned things are impermanent, even your struggles. With this wisdom, you navigate challenges not as catastrophes, but as passing storms. Purpose emerges naturally, not as some grand destiny to achieve, but as the next right step taken with full attention and peace. It becomes your inner home, unshaken by the world's chaos, like the depths of the ocean undisturbed by surface waves. So, tonight before sleep, ask yourself, where have I been untrue today? Not to judge, but to awaken. Each moment of honesty is a seed planted in the fertile soil of awareness. Water it with patience, and one day, maybe when you least expect it, you'll find yourself blooming effortlessly into the life that was always meant to be yours. The moment comes when you realize, no is a complete sentence, not a rejection of others, but an affirmation of yourself. No explanations needed, no apologies required. In Buddhist terms, this is right speech meeting right intention, the wisdom to know what serves your path, and the compassion to decline what doesn't, without resentment or guilt. The Buddha taught that clinging to what drains us, whether toxic relationships, soul-crushing work, or outdated versions of ourselves, is like gripping a burning coal and wondering why we're in pain. Letting go isn't loss, it's the first breath after being underwater too long. You might sit quietly now and whisper, but how? The answer hums in your bones, like an ancient mantra. Listen, not with your thinking mind, but with your body's quiet knowing, the knot in your stomach when you say, yes, but mean, no, the exhaustion after pretending to be someone you're not. These aren't random discomforts, they're dukkha knocking at your door, the suffering that arises when we betray ourselves. The Tibetan teacher Padma Sambhava said, if you want to know your past life, look at your present condition, if you want to know your future life, look at your present actions. Every time you ignore these whispers, you plant seeds for more suffering. Every time you honor them, you water the roots of liberation. Consider the job that pays well but hollows you out, or the relationship running on fumes of habit. If you are ready to align your life with wisdom and wealth, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos on that topic. The Buddha called this samsaric entanglement, the web of attachments we mistake for safety. We stay because the devil we know feels easier than the unknown, even as our spirit withers. But here's the paradox the Dharma reveals: what feels like safe stagnation is actually slow decay, while the terrifying leap toward authenticity is where life begins. Like a snake shedding its skin, we must release to grow. There's grief in this shedding, yes. As Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh taught, no mud, no lotus. The decay of what no longer fits becomes compost for what's waiting to bloom. You'll know it's time to choose yourself when the weight of staying begins to crush you more than the fear of leaving ever could. That quiet dream you keep shelving, the truth you've been swallowing for the sake of peace, these aren't fleeting impulses, they are sacred signals. Your Buddha nature whispering you back home to yourself. In the Pali Canon, the Buddha offered a profound directive: be islands unto yourselves, refuges unto yourselves. This isn't a call for isolation, it's a call for inner anchoring. Because only from a place of deep self-rootedness can real, nourishing connection grow. The moment you stop abandoning your truth to maintain the comfort of others, a quiet miracle unfolds. Those who are only drawn to your performance begin to fall away, and those who resonate with your essence begin to appear. The universe, ever attuned to integrity, moves to support those who dare to live aligned. So, tonight, light a candle, sit in silence, and ask yourself the questions that have been waiting in the corners of your soul. What am I holding on to that's already gone? Where am I shrinking to make others feel safe? Don't rush to fix, don't search for tidy answers, just let the truth rise, soft, subtle, like moonlight on still water. The first step isn't some grand, cinematic exit, it's the simple, sacred act of naming what's real. Maybe today that means setting one boundary that honors your well-being. Maybe it means deleting an app that feeds insecurity. The revolution doesn't come in noise and spectacle, it begins in quiet, intimate moments of loyalty to your own soul. And when the doubt creeps in, who am I to want more? Remember the Buddha's own awakening. He didn't find truth in opulence or deprivation, but by walking the middle path, the path of radical presence and honesty. Your yearning for authenticity is not indulgent, it's holy. As the Tibetan Book of the Dead reminds us, this life is impermanent, a dream unfolding in a single breath. The real tragedy isn't falling short of others' expectations, it's forgetting you were never born to meet them. The invitation to choose yourself is not in some far-off future or perfectly planned moment, it's here, in this very breath. The lotus doesn't wait for the mud to disappear before it rises, it roots into the muck and blooms anyway. So, ask yourself honestly, bravely, what will you do with this one wild and precious life? Because the instant you truly choose yourself, not perform it, not second-guess it, but deeply choose, your entire life begins to exhale. You'll feel it, a shift, a softening, a return. And no, it's not selfish, it is perhaps the most sacred act of self-preservation you'll ever know. The Buddha taught that suffering is born of craving and clinging, craving approval, clinging to safety, performing roles scripted by someone else's expectations. But when you begin to release the version of you were taught to be, something profound happens, grace arrives. The people meant for your truth draw near, those who needed your smallness fall away. This is not loss, it's realignment. The universe, always listening, is simply rearranging itself to match your awakening. You'll feel it first in your body, long before your mind has words for it. That tightening in your chest when you say, yes, but mean, no, the dull, quiet ache of living in a life that no longer fits, these aren't just passing discomforts, they are the whispers of dukkha, the deep, subtle suffering that arises when we resist our own nature. The body always knows, it holds the truth long after we've tried to bury it beneath obligations, roles, and fear. The great Tibetan yogi Milarepa never sang lullabies of self-denial, he howled the raw songs of aliveness, calling us not to shrink but to burn bright with fierce, unapologetic presence. And in the stillness of solitude, he discovered what many of us miss in our endless noise. Discomfort isn't proof that you're failing, it's evidence that you're shedding the false skins of a life lived on autopilot. But this is where the path stops being poetic and starts asking for courage. To choose yourself is to stand in front of the mirrors you've been avoiding. It means revisiting those silent moments when you betrayed your own voice, when you swallowed your no to keep the peace, when you dimmed your light to fit someone else's expectations. In the Pali Canon, the Buddha called this avidya, a fundamental ignorance that tricks us into trading truth for fleeting comfort. And yet, even in the heart of that forgetfulness, a deeper wisdom remains. Tonight, if you place your hands over your heart and allow the noise to fall away, you may hear a question rise, soft, but undeniable. What would I do if I loved myself unconditionally? Not someday when I'm perfect, but right now, exactly as I am. And that is where the magic begins. Because the moment you choose alignment, the world begins to shift. Just like the moon moves oceans, an internal decision begins to reconfigure external reality. That draining job, suddenly opportunities emerge that resonate with your soul. That relationship built on pretense, it either transforms into something real, or dissolves to make space for the love that requires no mask. This isn't a fantasy, it's the law of karma in motion. As the Dhammapada reminds us, all that we are arises with our thoughts. When you stop bending your truth to satisfy the world, life stops contorting you to fit what you've outgrown. But don't rush this isn't about perfection, it's about presence. Be gentle with yourself, unlearning lifetimes of self-abandonment takes time. Start with small, radical acts of honesty. Pause before giving your automatic yes. Notice the quiet flash of resentment, it often points to a place where you betrayed yourself. Keep a journal of those moments when you ignored your intuition to keep others comfortable. And when you're ready, burn the page. Let the flame be an offering to the self you're reclaiming. This is sati, mindfulness, not just in meditation, but on the most intimate battlefield of all, your everyday choices. This is the sacred work, this is how we come home. If you are enjoying this deep dive into the self, consider liking and subscribing so you don't miss future releases of our videos. And when guilt creeps in, who am I to put myself first? Remember, the Buddha didn't find enlightenment by following the crowd. He sat alone under the Bodhi tree, facing every shadow until he realized the most radical truth. Nirvana isn't some distant heaven, it's the freedom of living from your undivided heart. Your liberation begins the instant you stop asking permission to exist fully. So, tonight, as the world sleeps, stand before your mirror, not to fix or judge, but to meet the eyes of someone who's been waiting a lifetime to be chosen. Whisper, no more abandoning you. Then watch, in days, weeks, months, how the universe conspires to honor that vow. The Tibetan monks say, sand mandalas aren't destroyed, their beauty is released back into the world. Likewise, every no to what drains you is a yes to the love that awaits. The choice was never between others and yourself, it was between illusion and the breathtaking truth that you were always worthy of coming home. The moment you begin choosing yourself, you'll feel the world push back, not because you're wrong, but because your light makes others question their own shadows. The Buddha called this Mara, the tempter, not some external demon, but the voice inside, and sometimes in others, that whispers, who do you think you are? When you dare to stand in your truth, there will be days you falter, moments you slide back into old people-pleasing habits. This isn't failure, it's the path. In Zen, they say, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. Not with shame, but with the gentle persistence of a river carving stone. What you're really learning is the art of metta, loving kindness directed inward. When you catch yourself reverting to old patterns, don't scourge yourself with guilt, that's just another form of self-abandonment. Instead, pause, breathe, place a hand over your heart like the monks do during Tonglan meditation, absorbing the discomfort with compassion. The Tibetan teacher Dzigar Konk reminds us, every moment of self-awareness is a moment of waking up. That flicker of recognition when you notice you've betrayed yourself, that's not weakness, it's wisdom stirring. The people who drift away were never your keepers. Yes, their absence may ache like a phantom limb, but Buddhism teaches that all attachment leads to suffering. This doesn't mean you stop loving, it means you stop clinging. Watch, without flinching, as relationships rearrange themselves. Some connections will deepen unexpectedly, like roots finding water in drought, others will snap like dead branches, making space for new growth. The Dhammapada says it plainly, you are the only master you need. Those who truly belong won't fear your authenticity, they'll recognize it as permission to embody their own. Here's the secret the Buddha knew, your outer world is a mirror, not a prison. When you stop rejecting parts of yourself, life stops rejecting you. That coworker who suddenly respects your boundaries, the stranger who offers help exactly when needed, this isn't coincidence, it's pratisya samutpada, the interdependent nature of reality responding to your inner shift. Like a stone cast into a pond, your self-acceptance sends ripples through the fabric of your existence. Even the obstacles change. Where once they were brick walls, now they become gates. But stay vigilant, the mind loves its cages. You'll catch yourself yearning for the false safety of smaller living, like a caged bird nostalgic for its bars. In these moments, recall the Buddha's words, what you think, you become. Each time you choose authenticity over approval, you're not just making a decision, you're sculpting your future self. The Thai forest tradition teaches that enlightenment isn't some distant peak, it's the accumulation of 1,000 daily no's to illusion and yes to truth. So, when doubt comes, and it will, touch the earth as the Buddha did when Mara attacked. Feel the solid ground of your own experience, that job you walked away from, the relationship you outgrew, they weren't mistakes, they were the curriculum. Now look around, the light falls differently these days, colors seem brighter, conversations carry weight you never noticed. This is what happens when you stop filtering life through others' expectations. The world reveals its hidden music. The Japanese Zen poet Ryokan wrote, "If you want to find the meaning, stop chasing after so many things. By choosing yourself, you've done just that." And somewhere under the Bodhi tree of your own heart, a Buddha you didn't know existed begins to unfurl. The path to true transformation isn't instant, it grows slowly like a seed planted in rich soil. In Buddhism, we understand that all things take time, and patience is one of the greatest virtues. The Buddha taught that progress on the spiritual path isn't always smooth. Some days you may feel strong and steady, like a mountain, other days old habits and fears might creep back in, making you feel like you've taken a step backward, but this isn't failure, it's part of the journey. Just as a river flows around obstacles, you too must learn to move through challenges with awareness and kindness toward yourself. If you've gotten this far in the video, you are dedicated to improving yourself. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get notified of new content that will help you on your journey. The world often tells us that sacrificing everything for others is the highest good, but the Buddha taught a deeper truth: you cannot truly help others if you are broken inside. Imagine a lamp with no oil, it cannot give light, no matter how much it wants to. In the same way, if you drain yourself completely, what you offer others is not real love, it's exhaustion wrapped in obligation. Sooner or later, the body and mind will speak in fatigue, in resentment, or in a quiet feeling of emptiness. The Dharma, the Buddhist teachings, guides us toward a wiser way. Mindful loving-kindness meditation begins with offering love to yourself first, because only then can you radiate it outward without limits. The Buddha did not praise martyrdom, he praised wisdom, and wisdom tells us that self-care is not selfish, it is the foundation of a compassionate life. So, walk this path with patience. Some days will be easy, some days will test you, but with each step you are planting seeds of mindfulness, self-respect, and true generosity. And just as the lotus grows from muddy water, your highest self will rise, not in spite of the struggles, but because of them. Trust the process, the journey itself is the transformation. Close your eyes and think about the people in your life. Do they fill your heart with joy, like sunlight warming the earth, or do they leave you feeling tired, like a tree whose roots have been slowly weakened? The Buddha taught that our relationships are like mirrors, they show us not just who others are, but who we are. The people we attract, the ones we keep close, even those who hurt us, all of them reflect our inner world. If we often feel disrespected, it may be because we haven't yet learned to fully respect ourselves. If we cling to those who bring chaos, it might mean a part of us still confuses love with suffering. In Buddhism, this is the teaching of karma, not as punishment, but as the natural echo of our thoughts, actions, and deepest beliefs. The Dhammapada says, "We are what we think, all that we are arises with our thoughts." So, when someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries, ask yourself gently, why do I allow this? It's not that they are evil, it's that somewhere inside you haven't yet built the wisdom to say, this far and no further. Setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away, it's about honoring the sacredness of your own spirit. The Buddha himself walked away from those who sought to distract him from his path. He did so not with anger, but with the quiet strength of a man who knew his own worth. That heavy feeling you carry after certain conversations, the way your chest tightens or your energy drains, that's not an accident. In the Buddhist tradition, we call this Vedana, feeling tone, the subtle signal of whether something harms or heals us. Your body and heart are wiser than you think, they whisper truths your mind might ignore. When you dismiss these whispers, you trade your peace for the illusion of belonging. But the Buddha taught that true belonging begins within. No relationship built on self-betrayal can ever bring lasting happiness. Imagine your heart as a temple. Would you let anyone trample through it with muddy shoes? Of course not, yet so many of us leave the doors wide open, allowing others to take what they please, our time, our energy, our joy, until nothing sacred remains. This isn't compassion, it's avidya, ignorance, the root of suffering. Real compassion starts with protecting your inner light, just as you'd shield a candle from the wind. The Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh taught that, to love without knowing how to love wounds the person we love. How can you offer kindness to others if your own well has run dry? This doesn't mean cutting people off in anger. Buddhism teaches right speech and right action, to act with clarity, not cruelty. Some relationships may need space, others may simply need new rules, like a riverbank that guides the water without stopping its flow. When you say no to what drains you, you're saying yes to the parts of you that still dream, still hope, still believe in peace. You're making room for true spiritual community, the kind of connections that help you grow like trees in a forest, each standing tall, but nourished by the same earth. There's a story about the Buddha and a grieving mother. She begged him to bring her dead child back to life. Instead of scolding her, he asked her to bring him a mustard seed from a home that had never known loss. As she went from house to house, she realized everyone carries sorrow. This is the heart of Buddhist wisdom. We don't avoid pain by people-pleasing, we heal by facing truth with courage. Your boundaries aren't walls, they're the hands that cup your own heart, saying, "You matter too." We are near the end, keep going and growing. Make sure you hit like and subscribe so you can be part of our Wisdom and Wealth tribe. So, walk softly, but walk with awareness. Tend to your relationships like a gardener watering what blooms, pruning what withers, and knowing that even weeds were once seeds someone allowed to grow. Every time you choose yourself, you aren't being selfish, you're practicing the highest form of metta, loving kindness, and when you love yourself deeply, the whole world benefits because a healed person heals others, not by sacrifice, but by radiant example. There comes a moment on the path of self-awareness when you suddenly realize you can trust yourself. That quiet voice inside, the one you used to second-guess or drown out with others' opinions, begins speaking with surprising clarity. In Buddhist tradition, we call this prajna, the innate wisdom that exists within all beings, like a golden thread woven through your very being. As you practice choosing yourself day after day, something magical happens. This inner knowing grows stronger, like a flame that burns steadily even in the wind. The Buddha taught that every human being carries within them a natural wisdom, just as every acorn contains within it the blueprint of a mighty oak. This innate clarity, known as our Buddha nature, isn't something we earn or acquire, it's something we remember. And yet, for many of us, it feels elusive, faint, like a whisper drowned out by the noise of modern life. Why? Because our minds, like a still pond, become turbulent when we chase approval, bend ourselves to meet others' expectations, or live consumed by fear and comparison. The surface becomes so disturbed, so clouded, that we forget we were ever meant to see clearly. In Buddhist meditation, we're invited to let the water settle. This state of calm awareness is called samatha, a return to stillness, and in that stillness, something powerful happens. We begin to see ourselves, not as others see us, but as we truly are. Those quiet inner nudges, the gut feelings you can't rationalize, the sudden clarity that comes out of nowhere, the inner yes that floods your body with peace, this is your Buddha nature trying to cut through the static. It's your truest self speaking in a voice that doesn't shout, but never lies. In the Pali Canon, the Buddha describes this form of knowing as something beyond ordinary intellect. It's not based on logic or fear, it's direct, intuitive, and deeply trustworthy. There's a powerful story of a monk who repeatedly dreamt that he should travel to a certain village. The message made no logical sense, yet he followed it. When he arrived, he was able to save a family from an ambush. This is what happens when we cultivate sati, mindfulness, not just as a technique, but as a way of listening. The more mindful we become, the more we're able to tune into life's subtle guidance system. Sometimes it arrives as a flutter in your gut, other times it's the goosebumps on your skin when something true is spoken, or that unmistakable sense of expansion in your chest when you're aligned with the right decision, even if no one else understands it. These sensations are not random, they are the ancient language of your inner wisdom, the voice that existed before you could speak. But the great challenge is this: society rarely teaches us how to trust it. In fact, intuition often runs counter to conventional advice. The Buddha himself faced this tension. By worldly standards, he had everything: power, privilege, luxury, and yet his heart told him the truth, none of it would bring lasting peace. He left the palace, not out of rebellion, but because his soul knew there was more. If you've made it this far and you agree, please consider liking this video and subscribing to support our channel and future releases. In the same way, your authentic path might not make sense to those around you, the career shift that others question, the relationship you walk away from even though nothing appears broken, the creative pursuit that keeps calling you even when it seems impractical. These moments, difficult, brave, and deeply personal, are where choosing yourself becomes a spiritual act. As Tibetan teacher Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche described it, this is the wisdom of insecurity, the sacred art of trusting the uncertain, groundless territory of your own truth. It's not always comfortable, but it is always alive, and when you dare to walk it, not only do you reclaim yourself, you open the door to a life that finally feels like home. As you begin to trust yourself, genuinely, consistently, a quiet miracle starts to unfold in your daily life. The Buddhist teaching of Praditya Samutpada, or dependent origination, reminds us that everything is connected, nothing arises in isolation. That when your inner vibration shifts, even subtly, your outer reality responds. Suddenly, you overhear a stranger say the exact words your soul needed, a book falls into your lap answering questions you hadn't yet dared to ask. These moments are not mere coincidences, they are the universe responding in kind, echoing your decision to live in alignment. The Zen masters call this the 10,000 things coming to your aid. Life, once resistant and chaotic, starts to flow with a strange, undeniable harmony. But let's be clear, this path doesn't eliminate hardship. Even the Buddha, on the verge of enlightenment, was visited by Mara, the personification of fear, temptation, and doubt. What changes isn't the presence of difficulty, but the way you meet it. No longer drowning in self-betrayal, you approach challenges with curiosity, not collapse. What is this here to teach me, becomes your mantra. The tantric traditions call this alchemy, the sacred art of turning poison into medicine. That difficult coworker becomes your opportunity to practice compassion, that failed project reveals resilience you didn't know you had, even heartbreak when held in awareness doesn't destroy you, it cleanses you, making room for something more authentic to emerge. There's a luminous teaching in the Lankavatara Sutra, the world is perception. When you repeatedly choose yourself, your truth, your boundaries, your wholeness, you begin to see through new eyes. Colors seem more vibrant, the air feels clearer, you notice the way sunlight plays on leaves, how a child's laughter cuts through noise like a bell. Why? Because the fog of self-doubt is lifting. The Japanese call this mushin, no mind, a state where you're no longer tangled in overthinking. It's the flow state artists lose themselves in, the presence athletes touch in the zone, the timelessness lovers feel in each other's arms. This is intuition, not just as a voice, but as a way of being. You're no longer just hearing the wisdom within, you are it. So how do we begin to live this practically? We start small. Tomorrow morning, before reaching for your phone, take a breath, place your hand on your heart, and ask gently, what do I truly need today? The answer might not come as words, it may arrive as a sensation, heaviness when you consider one path, spaciousness when you consider another. Maybe what you call laziness is really a body pleading for rest, maybe what you label recklessness is your soul begging for courage. This is vipassana, clear seeing, insight arising not from analysis, but from stillness. Over time, you'll start recognizing these subtle cues everywhere, in your dreams, in the natural world, even in your obstacles. The great master Padma Sambhava once taught that all phenomena are messengers, that flat tire on the way to an important meeting, perhaps the universe intervening, redirecting your course. That missed opportunity, maybe it's the space clearing before a breakthrough. As you walk this path of trust, you begin to understand the Buddha's most radical teaching: you are your own refuge. No guru, no partner, no accomplishment can offer what you already hold within. The more you root into your own alignment, the more life becomes a sacred unfolding, not free of hardship, but free of resistance. You stop waiting for a perfect future, and begin resting in the perfection of now. The obstacles don't vanish, but you greet them with a steadiness that cannot be shaken. Because self-trust doesn't promise that everything will be okay someday, it reveals that you are already okay now, here, exactly as you are, and in that realization, you come home, not to a place, but to yourself. There comes a moment on the path of authenticity when you start noticing strange and beautiful occurrences, a phone call from someone you were just thinking about, a book that falls open to the exact page answering your unspoken question, a chance meeting that alters your life's direction. In Buddhist wisdom, we understand these aren't mere coincidences, but